What's up, guys? Salty Collector here, and welcome back. So today wanted to go through a potential grading submission that I want to submit to PSA, go through the cards, talk about some of their flaws with you guys, and talk about my strategy grading going forward. My setup is quite janky right now. It's my first time doing this, so give me some grace here, guys. And if you do like this sort of content, feel free to like and subscribe for more. All right, let's jump in here. So you can see here on the mat, I do have about a stack of 30 or so cards, 31 or so cards, so I can get the bulk value tier. I'm not really sure if I'm going to continue grading too much after this. The 90-day lockout period is really large and long, and I do think it kind of makes it difficult to kind of churn and burn that capital. But I did, consolidate this group of 31 cards over the past couple months that I thought had potentially a chance and some high margins on it. So I'll probably end up sending this in at some point. But I do think I'm going to stop grading the lower value tiers for now and only focus on cards over $500. So at least I can get the cards back a bit quicker. And the margins are still there, and I don't have to get as large of a stack to make it worthwhile. But let's go through this submission here and go through some of the cards. So I don't know if you guys can see this card here. This is the stamped Mega Evolution Bulbasaur. You can see the centering is actually really good on this card. A lot of the cards that I found of this one sealed, they actually all have a little mark in the top left corner. A lot of them do, or at least a lot of the ones I got. This one here you can see though. I don't know if you guys can see that. You can't really see the mark there. Again, I'm using an iPhone camera, so it only can go so deep. But you can see there's not really that mark in the top corner. So I figured this is a pretty good option to send in. It is a little bit, a little bit shifted to the left slightly and slightly top, but when I measured it, it was within the guidelines. On the back, it's pretty clean. Not a lot of whitening. Again, it's really hard to see. Let's see if I can. Like very, very small amount of whitening. I don't know if you guys can see there, but there's really not much. Like it's very, very tiny. So this is borderline. I would say likely 9, or maybe 50-50-9, 50-50-10, but the margin on these is so large. I got this for $40 and they're selling for 600 to 700, and this was the best one I could find in the 10 or so I ordered, so I figured I'd send it in. Next one I have is the Victini card here. Oh, it looks like it has like a little nugget here. Let's get rid of that. So this card here, again, you can see it's very well centered. I have a bunch of these guys that I've bought. And I only found, I think, about 3 in this set that I find worth grading. The centering on this card is beautiful. And then I always look at the actual image, because a lot of them do have scratching or print lines. So you really got to flash a light and kind of do this to them to really see it. And you can see here, this one looks pretty clean. And then on the back here, there's literally no whitening, maybe a very, very small speck. So generally what I look for, I try and look for, if it has 3 or 4 or 2 to 3 marks, it's very borderline. So if centering's off, I don't send, because they're really strict on centering right now. If it has really small white dots that are very hard to see, I think that's borderline. If it's only on 2 out of the 4 corners, again, this is riskier than maybe some will, and we'll see by the gem rates. So I do try and keep it very, very small specks. Like you can barely even see these here. I think in the camera it's too difficult to see. But they're extremely tiny. You can't even tell on camera. So that's sort of what I'm looking for some cards. And then I do have another Victini promo here. You can see, again, the centering's pretty good. I think it's shifted a little bit down from the top. But generally, it's within the guideline. You can see that the scratches or any print line surfaces are pretty minimal. I know it's in the card saver, but you should still be able to see it. And then this card literally has zero whitening on the back that I can tell, and pretty clean as well. Another thing to keep in mind, guys, when you're looking through your cards here, they're not as strict on the back centering or the back condition. So definitely keep that in mind as you guys are sending in your cards for submission. You can see another one here. Really, really good centering on this one. Almost centered. I think the reason why I'm not going to try anything crazy with this one, any black label, is you can tell here there is a little bit of whitening on the corners. Again, this one is likely borderline and probably a likely 9. But with the margins on this card, I think you have to take the risk there. I know some people wouldn't send this one in. I think it has, a little bit of whitening on the corner. And then this corner here and this corner here is barely noticeable. So I think you got to take that risk with this card. And here I have another one. You can see here the centering is probably on this one the worst of the 3. When I measured, it's still within the guidelines though. Again, very borderline on this one. But I think the reason I'm sending this one in is the back is extremely clean. You can, maybe see like a really small white speck here. But overall, it's like really clean in the back from the ones that I've seen. So I figured I'd give it a shot. Maybe this sneaks by their 55-45. Maybe they give me a break because it's such a clean card. So that's why I'm sending this one. Again, this one likely 9. Probably wouldn't risk it if you're not looking to risk it for the biscuit. The last Bulbasaur here as well. You can see here, again, a bit shifted to the right here, so a bit left heavy. And then the top and bottom look pretty good. Again, if you notice on all of these, none of the mark here that I found on a lot of mine. So pretty good there. And then on the back here, this one has pretty decent whitening on 3 corners, except for this one little corner here has a small little white speck. If it has one corner, I generally feel pretty comfortable sending it. So this still meets my, has 2 potential criteria that makes it a 9, but still going to send that guy in. The other card that I'm grading is the Eevee SPC promo. Love this card. I think it's a beautiful card. I have a bunch of prismatic SPCs. If you guys have been watching my content, I have a lot of them. I plan to pick up some more. But if you look at this card here, it is slightly off-centered, slightly right heavy. And then the top and bottom look pretty well. But again, if you look at the image here, not a lot of scratches on the card. And then on the back, it's clean. Zero whitening on the back. So these types of cards where the centering, is 55-45 borderline or 60-40, I'll send them in if there's no whitening or very minimal whitening to where you can't even see it. So like maybe a tiniest specks in one corner. Because maybe it can pass through, although they have been stricter on centering, so keep that in mind. So this is probably a 50-50 card again, but I do think it's a very clean card, and I know sometimes they'll send those through to a 10. The other card I'm grading are these Pikachu promos from the Paldea Adventure chests. So you can see here, this centering is really good. So on this card, a lot of the issues that I found when I was looking at these cards to grade is they would have print lines, essentially a print line right here by the flowers, or they'd have a print line up here by the mouse holds. That's a lot of the times I find issues with this card. So those cards I actually don't send. I think I bought about 24 to 25 of these with Paldea Adventure chests, and a couple just off market on eBay. You can see here the centering is really good. And then if we go to the back, there's pretty much minimal, if no whitening, maybe a small, tiniest specks in the corner. I'm also still learning, guys. So, when I look at this small, tiny speck, if you see those big, kind of, that have like a line white spot on the corner, I normally don't send those, but these small tiny specks, I do want to see if these kind of knock me down at all. But other than that, this card's perfect, so I think it does have a potential to 10. Going with my next Pikachu here, and we'll move a bit quicker for these ones, but you can see here again, centering is really good, very minimal in terms of scratching or print lines on this card. that has a lot of issues, and then the back is immaculate. So I think this has a very high likelihood of a 10. Going with this one here, again, centering, very good. Checking for any sort of print lines or scratches on the image. That's especially big on these IR cards. They tend to get scratches. Then you can see here again, a very clean back copy. No white specks on this guy here. Very, very clean. I think this will likely 10. Moving on to this one again. So this one is actually a bit top heavy. I think when I measured it was still within spec. It does look very, very close here. This one here, I would maybe consider not sending. But again, if you look at the back here, it's immaculate. No whitening, no anything. And I know they've been a bit strict on their front centering here. This one does have a little bit of top heavy to it compared to the other ones, but I figured I'd still risk it again for science and because the back's really clean. For you at home, I would recommend probably not sending that. Another Pikachu promo here. Again, the centering's much better. You can tell it's not as top heavy as the last one. Definitely meets the spec. And then kind of going through and looking at the any scratches, print surfaces here, no issues. And then on the back, again, a very clean copy. And this is out of a lot of the, 24 that I found. I only found about 5 to 7, I think, that are gradable. We may have another one in here, another couple in here. So that's what you should be doing with your graded cards. You should definitely be, if you buy 10 of them, expect maybe 2 to 3 to be gradable. And then some cards, when they have a very low gem rate, even that can get lucky. Maybe there's one that's very borderline. That's the best one that you have. You may want to try and send that in. So this one here, again, centering is not as good as the other one that I showed, but still I think within their guidelines, 45-55. And then on the back, very clean back copy, maybe a very tiny white speck on the corner here, but extremely small. Again, hard to see on the camera. But I would say this is like maybe 60-40. Again, getting kind of borderline, but with the margin that you get on these and for the amount that I bought that EV for, I think I got it for $20. I think it's worth it. I think the raw card will still be worth more in the future anyways. Here's another Pikachu card here. Again, you can see the centering is not as good as the first ones we showed, but still within the guideline. And then you can see here, pretty clean on the image. And then looking at the back, very, very clean card as well. Here's another Pikachu here. And guys, when you're looking for your cards, what I try and do is I try and find cards that I like that I think are going to go up in value to really help mitigate the risk of, price drops. So for instance, I do have a submission. This one has a bit top heavy here. You can see on the back, very minimal to no whitening. So still pretty clean, likely within their limits, but again, borderline 60-40 there. But a submission I just sent in like 3 months ago. It's been so long. I waited. I'm still waiting to get it back, but I bought a Groudon, the Bulbasaur for Stellar Crown, the Brilliant Stars Charizard, all during that market dip. And so the risk of the cards dropping in price, I felt was pretty minimal. And the upside of them rising in price, I thought was pretty good. So I felt my downside risk was very good. Again, you can see no whitening on the back here. But my upside potential, especially if any of them get a 10, are also really good. So that's what I look for when I'm looking for cards. This one's a bit right heavy. That's what I look for when I look at cards. I look for cards that likely, again, no whitening on the back though. So very clean back card, a little bit off center at the top. Could sneak by. They're 55-45, or if they're feeling generous, 60-40. But that's what I look for. Cards that are low risk at losing money. So even with the PSA fees, the $25-$30, even with those fees, you're still likely to break even with the market, and especially how the market's going. You can see here, this one only a little bit top heavy. And then last Pikachu here, we'll go pretty quick on this one because I've shown a few of these here. Again, looking for any surface issues, any whitening on the back. Looks pretty good. Maybe a small speck here, and the centering is a bit better on this one compared to the last one. Another card I'm sending in here is the Penny. Again, the centering on this card is almost perfect, I would say. It's really close. Make sure you guys are seeing this here. So this card here is another card I actually bought off eBay. You can see the back is pretty clean as well, almost no whitening. I think this is a likely 10 for sure. And then a couple last submissions here. So I have this Umbreon here. I did grade one of these before and I actually got a PSA 8. I'm still learning grading on some of the older Sun and Moons because they have this border line here. It's a bit harder to tell the centering. So it is a bit more difficult, especially for me. But the card itself is extremely clean. I actually really love this card. I think this card's undervalued, even in a raw form. So I think the risk here is low. I know it's been starting to run a little bit. But the centering here looks pretty good. It does have a little bit of whitening on the back, so I don't expect this to 10. Like it does have a little speck here and a little speck on this corner here. I don't expect it to 10, but I do think it can 9. I think it's a likely 9, and I think with that likely 9, it'll be positive EV. So that's why I'm sending that guy in. And then finally, I did pick up this Espeon with perfect centering. It is extremely perfect. You can see here, very beautiful card. I love these Evolution cards from Prismatic. And then the back has 0 whitening. And I know that's a big issue with the Prismatic cards. They have whitening on the back, so it's very clean. I know a lot of you guys would say, it's so clean, why not try and, do a black label? Obviously, the back centering is probably not good enough, but it does have a very, 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 very faint line in it. But it's super, super faint. You can barely tell unless you really, really look for it. And I have heard sometimes that these sorts of lines will actually pass through if it's the only issue of the card and still get a 10. So I'm sending it in for science. A lot of science here, guys. So maybe don't follow everything I'm doing, especially if you're a bit less risk averse than me. But I'm still trying to get all the kind of little things that PSA will let slide for certain cards, depending on the card. So those are the 30 cards I have, guys. I'll be sending those in, and I will let you guys know what I get on them. And then we can do a little, submission video where I go over all the grades of these 31 cards. And then we can go through and talk about, what were the issues and whether, my gem rate is improving over time. I do appreciate you guys being here. Please, if you like this content, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I am going to do some market analysis, market insights content on Thursday, going over some stuff that I'm looking to pick up. Again, this market is booming. I think you guys got to take action right now and get your money involved, get your capital involved if you're interested in this sort of hobby and this sort of collector space. And catch me on that one, guys. Excited to see you guys there. All right. See you guys later.